Every wedding photographer's nightmare. You walk into a reception venue and it's dark. Orange tungsten lights, magenta LEDs, ceilings so high that you can't bounce your flash from them, and walls so dark that it'll just eat your flash for breakfast. You've spent all day creating natural, beautiful light, and now it's gone. This is where skill replaces luck, where understanding light, and I mean really understanding it, turns chaos into creativity. In this lesson, I'm going to show you exactly how to light any dark venue, how to take control, keep the atmosphere, and make every frame look stunning, even when the room is working against you. This is how you turn the darkest reception into your brightest work yet. Alright everyone, and welcome back to Light It Right. This is lesson 6, which means you're over halfway through this flash mastery course. So well done for sticking with it this far. In the last lesson, we worked on balancing your flash with the ambient light available outdoors, learning how to make your flash look completely natural in bright and changing light situations. Now we're going to take all of that knowledge indoors. This time we're diving into dark and mixed light wedding receptions, where the lighting is unpredictable, the colours are all over the place, and your flash becomes your best friend. This is where so many photographers struggle, and honestly, I get it. 1 minute you've got tungsten downlights giving everything an orange glow. The next minute there's magenta LEDs firing across the room from the DJ booth. And then you're trying to light a first dance that's happening in near darkness. So in this lesson, I'm going to show you exactly how to master flash in dark and mixed light. And by the end of it, you'll know exactly how to walk into any room, big or small, and instinctively just know how to light it. So by the end of this video, you're going to know how to bounce your flash effectively in any situation, use off-camera lighting for those dramatic first dance pictures and for the speeches, avoid the dreaded black hole background, and how to use gels to make your flash blend seamlessly with those tungsten lights or modern LEDs. So grab your flash, grab your triggers, and let's get into it. This is lesson 6, mastering your flash in dark and mixed light receptions. Before you even take a shot, you've got to read the room. Ask yourself, what surfaces can I use? White ceilings and light coloured walls here are perfect. Wooden beams, dark drapes, or uplighters is where things start to get tricky. I always like to take a couple of test shots early in the evening. I'll fire my flash off in different directions and have a look at where the shadows are falling and what colour cast is coming back off the bounce. It's the quickest way to find out if the light that I'm bouncing off is clean or if it's giving everything an orange or even green tint. When it comes to direction, always think about where you want your light to appear like it's coming from. If you bounce it behind you and slightly to the side, let's say camera left, you'll mimic that beautiful and natural window light look. It'll wrap perfectly around faces and add some serious depth to your images. I'll usually set my flash to around 1/64th or 1/32nd power. My ISO will be anywhere between 800 and 3200, depending on how much ambient light I want to come in. My aperture can be anywhere from 1.8 to 4, and my shutter speed will be between 1/100th of a second and 1/200th of a second. Again, just depending on the ambient light. I find that this gives me a good balance between the flash and the warm reception lighting. Now, if the ceiling's really high, like say in a barn for example, you really do have to think creatively. I might tilt my flash 45 degrees sideways and bounce it off of a wall, a pillar, or even a reflector if I've had the time and the space to be able to set one up. The key is never fire your flash into a black hole. It's not going to reflect back, and ultimately you're just wasting your light. So what happens when there really is nothing to bounce off? Well, let's just say this is when things get real. There will be times when you walk into a venue and you just know straight away that nothing in there is usable. In those cases, I'll usually do one of two things. Either I'll use a small white bounce card attached to my flash just to throw a little bit of light in a forward direction, or I'll set up a second off-camera flash and use that as a bounce source. For example, I'll get a flash behind me at a 45-degree angle, up as high as I can get it on the light stand, point it at a wall or a ceiling and trigger it with my wireless transmitter. It creates that same soft bounce look, but you're controlling the surface. One of the biggest mistakes I see from wedding photographers is they blast too much flash and they absolutely kill the ambient mood of the room. Your main goal at receptions, even when using flash, is to keep the feeling of the room. That includes the fairy lights, the warm tones, and, well, the atmosphere. So start off by exposing for the ambient light first. Maybe underexpose it by around half a stop, and then just bring your flash in to fill. That's how you get those crisp and clean shots that look like they belong in the moment, not like they were lit by a science experiment. So that's your foundation. Master this and you'll have the power to make even the darkest reception rooms look like they're beautifully lit. Now let's step it up a gear. We're going to talk about off-camera flash setups for those big and dramatic moments. Okay, so this is where things start to get fun. Once you've nailed your bounce technique, off-camera flash opens up a whole new world. It gives you depth, drama and control, especially when the venue lighting is doing its best to work against you. For first dances, my go-to is a 4-light setup with one flash on each corner of the dance floor. All of the flashes are pointed inwards to the centre of the dance floor, and I'll dial them down to 1/64th or 1/128th power. That way, no matter which way your couple's facing or where you stand, you're going to have 2 speed lights lighting the couple from the front and 2 from behind, giving them a beautiful rim light and making them stand out from the background. Not only that, when the couple spins, the backlight catches the hair and the dress beautifully. That mix of lighting coming from the front and from behind gives your first dance shots some real depth. And don't forget, always take a test shot before the couple come in. The last thing you want to be doing is tweaking settings whilst they're starting their first dance. Because believe me, more and more as the years go on, first dances are getting shorter and shorter before they call all of the guests onto the dance floor. So you don't have much time to get this right. Next up, we've got the speeches. Speeches, I think, are where your lighting consistency matters the most. The guests are seated, the speaker may be moving around, and your light has to be flattering but not distracting. For the speeches, I usually have one off-camera flash placed at about 45 degrees to the speaker and slightly above head height, and then I'll bounce it off of a wall or an umbrella if the space allows. Then I'll have my on-camera flash set to really low power, maybe 1/64th or 1/128th, just to fill in the shadows when I'm shooting from different angles. This way, your subject is beautifully lit, the guests behind them stay visible, and you don't end up with that harsh, blown out face look. If I can, I'll try to use one of the same flashes that I use for the first dance. I'll just reposition it slightly so setup time is cut to a minimal. And then we move on to the fun bit, the party shots. This is where I want my flash to work hard but still keep the energy and the colour in the room. I tend to use the same 4 light setup here as I do for the first dance, with one flash in each corner of the dance floor as high as the light stand will allow and pointing straight into the centre. This allows the ambient light in the room to shine through, but gives you a nice dramatic light in the centre of the dance floor. My settings for my party flash are roughly 1/64th or 1/32nd power. My ISO is around 1600 and my shutter can be anywhere between 1/60th of a second and 1/125th of a second. This just depends on how much ambient light I want to let in or if I'm going for any motion blur. If the DJ lights are really strong, I'll drag that shutter just a little bit slower to keep all of the colours in the room. That's how you get those dramatic dance floor shots where the DJ lights streak but the people are sharp. It's all about balancing motion and flash duration. All of this, of course, only work if your triggers are solid. I use the Godox X3 triggers, which support manual control and TTL, and it allows me to control each flash's power independently right from the top of my camera. That being said, for receptions and for first dances, I mainly keep my flashes in manual. I don't want my camera guessing my exposure when the light's changing every 2 seconds. A top tip here is to get a little sticky label and label your flashes and then group them together on your transmitters. I have mine labelled front left, front right, back left and back right, and I have that as if I'm looking at the DJ console. That way you can quickly adjust them on the fly and know where each flash goes when it comes to setting up. Believe me, this will save you from a last minute sprint across the dance floor if you need to make any changes. So that's your off-camera flash foundations for the receptions. Once you've got this dialed in, your reception work will jump to a whole new level. But there's still one big problem that we need to tackle, and that's the dreaded black hole background. So let's fix that next. Alright, so let's talk about one of the most common and the most frustrating problems you're going to come across when shooting receptions. And that is that horrible flatly lit subject with a completely black background. You've probably seen it before. The couple look absolutely fine, but everything behind them is just black and disappears. And believe me, that's not what you want. You want your images to feel alive with a sense of place and atmosphere. So the black hole look happens because your flash completely overpowers the ambient light. Usually this happens for one of 3 reasons. Either your shutter speed's too fast, your ISO is too low, or your flash power is way too high. And the results of this is your subject's lit perfectly, but the camera never sees any of that lovely ambient room light. So we need to fix this. We need to find the perfect balance between your flash and your ambient exposure. And that starts with your settings. So before you even turn your flash on, expose your image for the ambient light in the room. Drop your shutter speed down to 1/60th of a second or even 1/40th of a second. Bump up your ISO to maybe 1600 or 3200 and open your aperture as wide as it'll go. Then you need to take a test shot. If the room looks too dark, go even slower on the shutter speed if you can, or bump that ISO up even higher. Once you can see the background clearly, then bring your flash in to light the subject. This will give you that natural warm backdrop, and when your flash fires, it just lifts the subject without destroying the mood. If your subject's too bright, or it looks like they're just pasted into a scene, then your flash power is too high. Start low at 1/128th power or 1/64th power and bring it up only as needed. Your goal here is not to overpower the ambient light, just supplement it. This is where the beauty of manual mode comes in. You control the look of the image, not the camera. Once you get that balance right, your images will pop and feel real. Now, if you want to take it one step further, say for first dances or for the speeches, then add a dedicated background light. I'll often set up a small flash behind the couple or aimed up at a wall in the background. This flash will be set to a low power of say 1/128th, which is just enough to lift the shadows in the room and bring some texture back into the image. You can even add a gel to the flash to match the colour of the fairy lights or the uplighters. It's subtle, but it does add depth, dimension and mood to your images. Okay, so one final piece of the puzzle is colour temperature. If your flash is daylight white, but the room's got that tungsten orange colour, you'll still get that unnatural, cut out look even if your exposure is perfect. We'll dive deep into gels in the next section, but remember, your light and your background should all feel like they're living in the same world. So now you know how to keep that atmosphere alive, no more black holes and no more overflash subjects. Your reception images will now feel full, warm and dynamic. Next up, we're going to bring all of this together with one final step. That is using gels to correct the colour in mixed lighting. This really is where your photos start to look polished and professional. So gels are just thin, coloured filters that go over the top of your flash. They change the colour temperature of the light that your flash emits so it can match the colour temperature of the light that's already in the room. Most reception rooms use tungsten light, which runs at about 3200 Kelvin. But some venues run the more modern LED lights, which can be anywhere from around 2800 Kelvin to 3500 Kelvin. And guess what? Your flash is daylight balanced at 5500 Kelvin. So when you fire it, your subject gets hit with a cool white light and the rest of the room glows warm. That's why everything can look off. By putting an orange gel, called a CTO gel, on top of your flash, you're warming up that flashlight to match the colour of the room around you. Now your camera can really see everything in true harmony. So for weddings, you'll mainly use 3 types of gels for your flash. That's a full CTO gel, which is for very warm tungsten environments. Think old halls or dim dinner venues. Next up, you've got a half CTO gel. This is perfect for mixed lighting, some tungsten and some LED. I'd say this is probably my most used gel. You've then got a quarter CTO gel. This is just for a touch of warmth when the ambient light is mostly neutral. Honestly, if you're only going to carry one, then make it a half CTO gel. It's the most versatile of the lot and will work in 90% of all reception rooms. Okay, so now you've got your gel on your flash, you're going to need to tell your camera what's going on. If you're shooting RAW, which by the way you absolutely should be, you can just adjust the white balance later. But I do still like to set a custom Kelvin value in my camera just so that I can keep my previews accurate. So if I'm using my half CTO gel, I'll set my white balance to around 4000 to 4200 Kelvin. If it's a full CTO, then I'll dial that down to around 3200 Kelvin. That will get you really close in camera and will save you a load of time editing later on. Now let's talk about LED and DJ lighting, because this stuff is chaos. They throw out mixed colour temperatures and they change every single second. You just can't match your flash perfectly to them. So instead, the trick here is to match your flash to the most dominant colour in the room. If the ceiling uplighters are a warm LED, then I'll stick to my half CTO gel and I'll just let the DJ lights in the room do their thing. Those lights are part of the vibe of the wedding. Your flash is only there to make sure that the people look natural. This is where balancing ambient light and flashlight really pays off. If your flash is too bright, it's going to kill all of those colourful DJ lights. So stay subtle. You're there to enhance the scene, not erase it. Now don't forget, if you're using multiple flashes, you'll need to gel them all together to get that consistency. If your key light's gelled, but your backlight isn't, you're going to end up with inconsistent colour tones in your image. You're going to have warm faces and cool rim lights. So for example, during a first dance, I'll put half CTO gels on all of my lights. That way everything in the scene feels cohesive. It's small details like this that separate your pictures from everybody else's. When all of your lights are talking together, the results feel polished and intentional. And then, once you're comfortable balancing the light, you can then start to get creative. Try adding a CTB gel, which is blue, on the rim light so you get a nice cool backlight. Or even throw on a magenta gel to match some of the DJ lights. You can use your gels to correct or create the mood in any image. That is the power of knowing how to control the colour. So that's gels, one of the most overlooked but powerful tools in any flash photography. Get this right and your reception shots will finally look cohesive, professional and full of life. Now that we've tackled bounce, off-camera setups, ambient balancing and gels, you're ready to light any reception confidently. Okay, so that was a big one. You've just tackled one of the toughest parts of flash photography. How to master and control the light in any dark reception room. Let's have a recap of what we've covered today. How to bounce the flash effectively in any venue, even with tricky walls and high ceilings. How to use off-camera flash setups for those beautiful cinematic first dances, speeches and party moments. How to avoid those black hole backgrounds by balancing your ambient with your flashlight. And how to use gels to bring everything together. Perfectly colour balanced and professional. If you've been following the Light It Right series so far, you'll know that we've been building layer upon layer. And now you've got everything you need to light your receptions confidently and creatively. Now, before you go shooting or editing your next event, if you find this video helpful, please take a second to hit the like button. It really does help the series reach more photographers who want to level up their flash game. And of course, if you've got a question or you want to let us know how you set up your reception lighting, drop it in the comments below. I always love to hear how you're putting these techniques into practice. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, because next week's lesson is one that you're not going to want to miss. In lesson 7, we're getting creative. You've learnt the rules and now it's time to learn how to bend them. We'll be diving into creative flash techniques for impact, using motion blur, coloured light and multi-flash setups to create those wow factor images that belong in any wedding gallery. It's gonna be a fun one, so make sure that you're subscribed and ready for it, because Light It Right is really now gonna get started. Thanks so much for watching the video and I can't wait to see you in the next one.